Shri Shri Gaura Nityananda ki, Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki. So nice to be with you again after I don't know how many months. So today it was going to be like a little prelude to next week's program, which is Shri Nrsimha Chaturdasi. And in preparation for that, we're going to hear from the #1 devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev, Sri Prahlad Maharaj. And I have a couple verses from Srimad Bhagavatam that I'd like to go through. But first, before that, question, why does the Lord descend? Excuse me? Yeah. Paritranaya sadhunam, protect or deliver the sadhus, the devotees. Vinashaya chadushkritam, dharma samstarpanataya, sambhavami yuge, and to reestablish religious principles. So, Prabhupada tells us that actually the reason is to deliver the devotee, the real devotees, to satisfy the hankering of the devotees and the desire, fulfill the desires of the devotees. Krishna can annihilate the demons in many, many ways, right? Just with a blink of his eye, material energy can do that. And he can and does establish religious principles just by sending his pure devotees. So, we know the story of Prahlad Maharaj, taken birth in the family of this big asura, Hiranyakashipu, and the Lord was hearing Prahlad's prayers and his strong preaching to his atheistic schoolmates, and then his fearless response to his father, who was challenging him, who didn't want to hear anything about Lord Vishnu, about the process of devotional service, of bhakti yoga. And finally, the great challenge of Hiranyakashipu challenged Prahlad Maharaj and pulled out his sword and was ready to kill him and kill his Lord who was everywhere, and the Lord appeared. So, if we want to be actually a devotee of the Lord, there's a very interesting statement that's quoted in Chaitanya Charitamrita from the Adi Purana. Krishna is speaking, that he's saying that if one claims to be my devotee, he's not my devotee. But one who is a devotee of my devotee, he is actually my devotee. So this is the process that was given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in his verse, that he's saying that I'm not a sannyasi, I'm not a brahmachari, vanaprastha, grihastha, all these things. I'm simply a servant of the servant of the servant of the lover of the gopis. So he taught to become a servant of the servant many times removed. So to hear about Krishna's pure devotees is #1 program for us if we want to become a devotee. And this is the process of following in the footsteps. So Prahlad Maharaj is a very prominent devotee. I calculated, I just noticed there's 5 chapters just in the 7th canto devoted to the life of Prahlad Maharaj. And this is the big, great presentation Srimad Bhagavatam that is giving the life of these pure devotees. So we can actually imbibe their mood, so we can actually learn how they're loving and serving the Lord. Otherwise, if we don't be very personal with the Lord's pure devotees, then how will we ever transform from our own? We have our own ideas, but if we can actually absorb the mood of these great devotees, then that's the indication of, Prabhupada has also always said, to follow in the footsteps of the great devotees. And that's the statement, Mahabharata, Mahajano yena gata sapanta, follow in the footsteps of the great Mahajans. And Prahlad Maharaj is one of the 12 great Mahajans. So the first verse I would want to present is from the 5th canto, chapter 18, if anyone wants to follow. I'm just going to chant through the verse once and read it. This is from the prayers by the residents of Jambudweep, and Prahlad is one of them. He has actually many prayers. So this goes, Svastyastu Vishvastya Kala Prasidatam Jayantu Bhutani Shivam Mito Diya Manascha Badram Pajatad Adhoksaje Aveshyatam No Matir Apya Haitaki. So please listen carefully. This is Prahlad Maharaj speaking. May there be good fortune throughout the universe, and may all envious persons be pacified. May all living entities become calm by practicing bhakti yoga, for by accepting devotional service, they will think of each other's welfare. Therefore, let us all engage in the service of the Supreme Transcendence, Lord Sri Krishna, and always remain absorbed in thought of Him. So this is, by hearing these prayers, we actually can understand the heart of the pure devotee. And this is probably the most attractive principle for the Lord, to shower His mercy, to notice the devotee, and in this case, to appear, to rescue His devotee. But this is the mood this is the mood of Lord Chaitanya, of great compassion and feeling for the suffering living entities in this world. Prahlad Maharaj is, he's being tortured by his father, a most envious personality. And yet, he's just praying, may all envious persons be pacified, including his father. I mean, he specifically offered prayers to, after Lord Nrsingadev killed his father and asked him to ask some benediction. He prayed, please, to deliver my father from his very unfortunate condition. So, and Prahlad Maharaj, he's not asking for himself. He's asking for envious persons who aren't lovable. You know, it's like they don't usually gain our compassion, okay, if that's the way you want to be. But Prahlad he's praying to the Lord to pacify. And here's the point Prabhupada brings up in the purport, that he's quoting Chandrika Pandit, who says there are two kinds of envious living entities. One is a snake, the sarpa, and the other is the envious human being. So that the snake can be pacified by an expert person who knows mantras, and two other ways. But the envious human being, he cannot be passive. He cannot be cured of his envy. it's actually a more diseased condition than the envious snake. So Prahlāda is appealing to the Lord to somehow or other you pacify these envious persons. And then only can they think of each other's welfare. And how is that? How is he's explaining how it's done by practicing bhakti yoga. So if we want to quell our own material qualities like lust, greed, anger, envy, these things are there to some degree, then we have to analyze how nicely we're practicing bhakti yoga and take inspiration from the pure devotee, such as like Prahlāda Maharaj. So, and this is the message of Krishna in Bhagavad Gita, Manmana Bhavamad Bhakto, Madhyajimam Namaskuru, to always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, offer your obeisances unto me. So, a simple process. And we just need to take inspiration from the great devotees. And it's like follow in their footsteps, not try to imitate. Do the best we can. And just by hearing about the pure devotees, I was just reading some Chaitanya Leela. And Lord Chaitanya would many times say about his devotees. And Lord Chaitanya's Leela was all about, loving interactions between devotees. It's very, very wonderful once you dive into it deeply. In fact, the Lord has come as a devotee. There are 5 principles of a devotee. Bhakta-rupa. Chaitanya is a devotee, Nityananda is a devotee, Advaita, Charya, Gadadhar, and Srivas, all devotees. And so they're having these wonderful interactions. And Lord Chaitanya would declare many times, anyone who just sees my devotee or hears from him or serves him, I accept him as my life. So, by making a connection with the devotee, the Lord is very pleased. Just by hearing about him is so pure, it's purifying. This is the process. Just to hear, this is Lord Chaitanya's movement, this Sankirtan. It's Harinam Sankirtan and it's Kṛṣṇa-kathā. And also, in these readings recently, I heard that Lord Chaitanya would hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit in Puri, Jagannath Puri. And he would hear it again and again. And it was said there that he heard about the pastimes of Prahlāda Maharaj and Dhruva Maharaj hundreds of times. And when he was hearing them, tears would be pouring from his eyes. He would just feel great, tremendous ecstatic feelings. Because these devotees evoke that much feeling in the Lord himself. The Lord would say, these devotees are more dear to me than my own life. So that's our opportunity to become dear to those who are dear. Right? We say, Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prastaya Bhutale, offering obeisances to our spiritual master, who is very dear to Lord Krishna in this world. Okay, I'm going to go to the next prayer. So this is from 7th Canto. This was a very favorite prayer that Srila Prabhupada would quote many times in his purports through Srimad Bhagavatam and in his lectures. 9th chapter of the 7th Canto, text 43. Naidvod vijay paradaratyaya vaitaranyas tadvirya gayana mahamrita magna chitta shoche tato vimukachetasa indriyartan maya sukhaya baram udvahato vimudhan. He's saying, "O best of the great personalities," so he's addressing the Lord, "I am not at all afraid of material existence, for wherever I stay, I am fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. My concern is only for the fools and rascals who are making elaborate plans for material happiness in maintaining their families, societies, and countries. I'm simply concerned with love for them." So again, extreme example of compassion for the suffering living entities, who he addresses as vimudha, most foolish. Because why? Maya sukhaya paramudvahato vimudhan. Because they're chasing after maya sukha, illusory happiness. And they never become happy. In material life, we don't become happy, right? Right? Sometimes we realize, okay, I got what I tried for, but I'm still not happy. Famous song to that, right? I tried and I tried and I tried, but I can't get no satisfaction. So, Prahlāda is saying, addressing the Lord, I'm not at all afraid of material existence. Is there anyone here that has no fear or anxiety about material existence? Well, we all experience that. It's the nature of this world, kuntha, anxiety, as opposed to vaikuntha, the spiritual universe, because it doesn't have these material qualities. I was just reading the introduction to Bhagavad Gita. Prabhupada says we're existing in a state of non-existence. Everything is changing and dwindling and disappearing, one way or the other. The building, our car, the body. Sure, it's not a very happy place. It's a place of anxiety. Dukhalayam ashashvatam. Dukkha, right? Misery, and temporary. Who can be happy? But Prahlāda Maharaj says, I'm not afraid of material existence. And why is that? He says here, for wherever I stay, I'm fully absorbed in thoughts of your glories and activities. Tadvirya gayana mahamrita magna chitta. So here's the secret. To be absorbed in thoughts of the Lord. Prabhupada, in the word-for-word translation, he says, Gayana either by chanting or distributing. It's interesting. So we're chanting the Lord's glories for ourselves or whoever can hear us, or distributing. Like Prabhupada had his major program, one of his major programs, to distribute these books so people all over the world could hear. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati said it was the Brihat Madanga, so the greater kirtan that could be heard for long, long distance. So Prahlāda is free from any anxiety or fearfulness, but he has this shoche tato vimukha cetasa indriyartha. So shoche means to, he's lamenting. The devotee has no anxiety for himself, but he is lamenting for others that will not come to Krishna consciousness and are suffering and are just, we see, they're just chasing after the illusory happiness and never becoming satisfied. The Lord describes in Bhagavad Gita that that's the condition of the bewildered spirit soul who thinks he's the doer and the enjoyer But actually, everything's going on under these three modes of material nature. And in that verse also he says, Prakriti Kriyamani, Ahankara Vimudhatma. He becomes very, under the influence of false ego, he becomes foolish. Not knowing that we're under the control of these modes of nature. So how to get out of the controls of the control of the modes is to surrender to Krishna. So that's the process of bhakti yoga. So I'll save a little time for questions. I won't go long. Does anyone have anything to bring up or some discussion? It's a simple process to become a devotee of the Lord, follow in the footsteps of the devotees, hear about the devotees, associate with pure devotees. And Srimad Bhagavatam, that's the glory of Srimad Bhagavatam, that we get to associate with pure devotees. I'm sure all of you have realization of that. Something to bring up? You have anything to... Any points?
I have a question. So Prahlad Maharaj, he was in the family of demons, in the kingdom of demons. He went to the school of demons, where he was to be given the best of the worst of the knowledge of the demons. And he was alone by himself. Just like we have the example of Vibhishana in Ramayana in Lanka. So and he was only 5, 6 years old. So what is the secret to his impeccable devotional service, despite, all the association he had was demons? His teachers were demons, his classmates were demons. Whereas we have so much of opportunity to associate with devotees and, we have books and even that. So what is the secret of Prahlad Maharaj?
The secret is, and it's a little secret to look at his life just like that. The secret is that he associated with a pure devotee in his mother's womb, Sri Narada Muni, and he heard him speaking. He became fully enlightened. He was a pure devotee as he was born. And Bhagavatam describes how, from the very youth, he was always Krishna conscious. I mean, that's the simple answer. Anyone have anything else to add?
I think he was in Shantara, so he was always meditating on Krishna. And so because he was always meditating on Krishna, he was never like away from Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
Krishna was always with him. I think it was in the Hare.
And we can see how aloof he was from real suffering. It was imposed upon him by his father, demoniac father. Tried to kill him so many times. He sent these asuric people with spears and had him thrown off a cliff, and the Lord caught him, thrown into a pot of boiling oil. What else? Yeah. But he would just chant the names of the Lord. Hare, Hare, Krishna, Govinda. And Krishna would always save him. See, he was that was attracting the Lord. The Lord was already attracted to him because he was so dependent on the mercy of the Lord. He wasn't trying to he knew he couldn't protect himself. He was just a young boy. And he was being, all this organization of big demons to kill him. Krishna. So we're actually in the same boat. We're living in a society, a asuric society. Bhagavatam describes Kali Yuga's ocean of faults, overtaxation, so many things, everything, prices are going up. Everything around us, the so-called leaders are taking our tax money and making war here and there, and they don't even have enough money to keep the infrastructure of our country going. We're driving around the country, and some of these roads are so bad, it's just, come on, the taxpayers are paying for the roads but no. And as Prabhupada points out, they're all, mostly the leaders are self-interested, and they're taking money and, name and fame for themselves. And people are struggling for the very basic necessities, for food and health care and all that, hardly getting it. And the general establishment is opposed to the spreading of Krishna consciousness, even though we know the basic thing is that we must perform yajna to be free from the cycle of birth and death, even to get rains, to get the grains, to get our food. But we can't tell that to they won't accept. We're not trying to establish a sectarian religion, we're just trying to establish the reality of how things are managed, within this material universe from the devatas. And they reciprocate with human beings when human beings perform yajna. So we're living in a very historic time, and it's our very clear self-interest to take shelter of the Lord by performing yajna, remembering the Lord by chanting Hare Krishna and hearing about his glories from Bhagavatam and the Gita. Danikeli has something.
I just wanted to add something to Damodar Prabhu's question.
Okay.
He was asking, how is it that, in our life, we do associate with non-devotees when we go to work, when we go to school, just all around us, and we're terribly affected. We find it very difficult to maintain our life as a devotee, right? Because 99.9% of our association might be non-devotees. Yet, Prahlad, even as a young child, he was going to demoniac schools, he had a demoniac father, anti-Krishna consciousness, yet he remained 100% Krishna conscious. So he asked, what was his secret? So there's this nice prayer by Prahlad in the 7th canto, chapter 9, text 28. And he's praying, Lord Nrsimhadev has appeared. And Prahlad says to Lord Nrsimhadev, because of my association with material desires, one after another, we all have material desires. That's just, we wouldn't be in these material bodies if we didn't have material desires. That's exactly why we have a material body. So my association with these material desires, I was gradually falling into a blind well full of snakes following the general populace. So he admits that he really wasn't feeling so terribly different from you and me. He was also feeling that by associating with material desires and people who are also afflicted with material desires, I was following the general populace into a blind well full of snakes. But, and this is where his secret formula comes in, but your servant Narada Muni kindly accepted me as his disciple and instructed me how to achieve this transcendental position. Now, we've also had that in our life. How many people here feel like they've been affected by Srila Prabhupada's books and his teachings, and that they've received an education on how to remain in the transcendental position? How many people here feel like they've gotten that, right? To one extent or another. Prahlad then says, therefore, my first duty is to serve him. How can I leave his service? So this is actually Prahlad's secret. He received from Narada Muni this amazing information on how to achieve the transcendental position and stay there and never fall down. And he appreciated it so much. He understood the value of it so much that he said, I can never give up my mood of being Narada Muni's servant. How could I ever leave his service? So this is a really significant instruction for all of us, that the real reason why we struggle with our spiritual life, we understand that I should chant Hare Krishna. We understand I should study Srimad Bhagavatam. We understand I should do devotional service. We understand I should always remember Krishna and never forget him. But the reason we struggle with that is because we're not holding on to this mood of being a servant, an appreciative servant of that devotee who has given me this opportunity. So this was Prahlad's mood. He wasn't thinking of himself as, a devotee of Lord Nrsimhadev, a devotee of Krishna. He was thinking of himself as a devotee of Narada Muni. And at every moment of his life, waking and sleeping, he kept that gratitude, that appreciation, and that very humble mood that let me never think of myself as something other than a servant of Narada Muni. So that's what we have to practice when we go out into the material world, whether we're working or schooling or associating with our neighbors. We have to somehow or other keep this mood that I'm a servant of our Gaudiya Vaishnava Parampara. I'm a servant of the servant of the servant of Srila Prabhupada. And in this way, we'll never get into the mood of being the enjoyer or of being independent or what have you. So these prayers of Prahlad Maharaj are very, very instructive.
And there are many prayers. It's very, like I said, well, there's one chapter of prayers of Prahlad Maharaj. Many. There's 4 other chapters about Prahlad. Whole chapter of prayers, and then in the 5th canto also. Nice to go through.
So time doesn't exist in the spiritual world, right? So
it's noticeable by its absence.
Yeah, because it's not present, it's not there. So the spirit soul, they'll never understand birth, death, old age, disease, because eternally it's never present. They don't. That's why when we come here, we don't understand birth, old age, and death, and disease, because it's not with us. It's not part of us. It's something alien.
Right. I'm eternal. So I don't have to worry about it. But we have to worry about it. We have to remind ourselves, this body is going to get old, wear out, and be finished. And I have that much time, which I don't know how much time that is, to finish this coursework and achieve a platform of a devotional connection with Krishna and Krishna's devotees, so I can advance. Just like we're going through the coursework in a university, we want to get to the next level. We don't want to fail the course, have to take it over again. It's no fun. So all the great devotees are always reminding us these basic things. If you read Prabhupada's books, listen to his lectures, he's saying some very simple things again and again and again, so we can get it, actually. But only in the immediate association of devotees can we practice these things. Otherwise it's hard on our own, or there's just 2 or 3 people in our house with all these, demands on us. So the association of devotees is most important. As Lord Chaitanya said, sadhu sangha, nam kirtan, bhagavat shravana, worshipping the deity, and Pṛthuśravā, living in a holy place. Anything else? Okay, thank you for your attention. And we come back again next week and we'll hear more about Sri Nrsimhadev and his great devotee. Sri Prahlad Maharaj ki, Granth Srimad Bhagavatam ki, His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada ki.